doing some fun stuff in the software. My name is Marie-Ève, but you can call me Mel because it's way more easy to say in English. Yay! And the thing you just saw was a exceptional. Oh wait, I'm making puns now. Was a very amazing little short made by Exceptional Mind, and it was made in Storyboard Pro. And this month is February. I cannot say that word, so I'm gonna write it. It's February. But if you change brew by board, what does it become? Board. And I mean board, not bored, because that'd be bad. So board dairy. What does it do? It does storyboarding in February. So to follow the theme of February that is going on this lovely internet, let me do a change, right? So instead of doodling and messing around Harmony, I will mess around Storyboard Pro. Yay! Who is excited for Storyboard Pro? Say it in the chat. And speaking of the chat, if you have any questions or anything that you want to say about Storyboard Pro, feel free to say it in the comments. No, it's a chat. It's not a comments. It's a chat. And I'll be able to look at it and answer it. And if I don't see it, then my lovely co-host Derek is going to tell me that I didn't look at the chat, and then he's going to tell me the questions so that I can answer it. All right, and so yeah, I'm just going to doodle a bunch of things, and we're going to explore these features together. Woohoo! Hey, it's Robo! Yay! No, we are not storyboard. This is not happening today. We are no, whatever, I can try today. So I'm gonna draw a little bird, and because birds are cool, I'm gonna animate a bird flying around, and no, I'm not going to animate, I'm going to board it, which is a big difference. So right off, what you can see in the software is that, whoa, you have a thing to draw, and you have a timeline, but it's not the same timeline as Harmony, so there's like less information, but also more information. So it's less about making crazy animation, but more about organizing panels and sound. That's right, you have a place to do sound editing, which is something that would be interesting to show you, but on stream, I don't think you want to hear me scrub around a sound for like an hour or so. Let's not do that. So instead, I'm going to draw and show you little tips about how to storyboard inside the software. So at first, an important thing about storyboarding is that you typically don't start drawing your beautiful drawing and trying to time them. Because editing your board and drawing your board are two different things. So in life, there is storyboarding and there is edits or editing. Yeah, editing the boards, which are two different things. It's easy to mix and match them into storyboard, which is a great thing. But it's also easy to get carried away, and then you just start to draw your stuff, and then you just keep on doing more and more panel. Ooh, what's down there? Oh, what is constants in my volumes, right? I don't know. He's looking down and he's gonna jump or something. So it's easy to just fall into that, and then you get attached to your ideas, and then you don't really want to change them because it's too late. You're already like 15 panels into your idea and you're trying to time them. So then you're gonna waste your time timing your drawings right away to see like, oh, is this gonna fit? I don't know. How is this gonna sound? So like, but you don't even know if that's a great idea. So before you board anything, it's important to do, if somebody in the chat knows it, start with a T. So while I get this thing ready, you have 5 seconds to know what is super important, and start with a T that you have to do before doing anything in your storyboard. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, Robo Sardi said it. It is the thumbnails. So that's why in Storyboard Pro, even though we have a very tasty timeline to play with, it's also important to just worry about your drawings, which are your thumbnails, which you can find into your thumbnail view. To get your thumbnail view, you can just click on the plus sign and find thumbnails. Or you can also click here in the top part. I can't really make it bigger. You have to like put your face really close to your screen maybe. Because if you go here, there's a bunch of little icons, and all these icons are very cool views. Not views. They're more like window setup. Workspace, thank you. Little blue box, that always helps me out. So the drawing workspace is where you usually draw. If you want to time your drawings, you can go into the timeline workspace. There's also an overview workspace that is great. And then you have the horizontal workspace. So, you know, it's the Twitch stream, right? So I'm not doing exactly what we would do in production to do a board, right? So I don't have a script. We're just gonna make do, okay? But if you had a script, we have a beautiful view here that will allow you to write stuff in, which is great, right? Because storyboarding is usually with words as well. But, you know, we have an hour, right? I don't have this. I don't have a script, but and you have it on horizontal, or you can also have it vertical, which is great to play around with your shapes. One thing I really love when I do have a script is to just import that script into my little storyboard panel. And if this was my scripts, you can just take it and you can start to populate your little board with it, right? By just click and dragging. So you don't need to have like a Word document open on the side and copy pasting and whatnot. You can just import it there. It's super fun. And what I like is that this view here allows you to see your, allows you to see your writing and to thumbnails at the same time. And since this view makes your drawing very small, you don't have a choice but to have a very, very small drawing of a bird flying, for example. Oh, that's pretty. That's cute. Let's give it a crown. Oh my god. Maybe not. It breaks the silhouette. So then you can really focus on just doing your thumbnails. Because the bigger your screen, like I'm drawing on a kind of a big Cintiq at the moment. So the bigger your drawing, the more inclined you will be to put details in it, right? So you really have to be careful and not work too big, because then again, it's like timing your thumbnails. It's not useful. And if you work too big, you're going to start being like, that bird needs to have more eyelashes or whatever. And then you start to really make your drawing amazing. Yeah, that's going to be an anime bird. Wow. You start to have the prettiest thing going on in there. Oh yeah, let's try and make the other eye now. It never works. Because I'm too close, I'm too zoomed in, so you don't see the bigger picture. Just wait till I zoom out, it's gonna look horrible. Zoom out, prepare for a disaster. Yeah, I've seen worse. But like, it's not great. And that's because I was too zoomed in. So when you do your thumbnails, always be careful and work small. One great thing with Storyboard Pro that allows you to do some fun thumbnails, because there was a time in the past when I learned how to storyboard in school and we didn't have Storyboard Pro because that was like more than 10 years ago. So I mean, we had paper and Post-its, like we would board on Post-its, but the problem with a Post-it is that there is a limit to how much space that Post-it has. So like if I had my little amazing Post-it note, we actually had, we had Post-its that were exactly the size of a HD screen, which was really great. But then you would try to draw, And you're like, oh, but what if I want to expand a little bit outside? But you couldn't because there was a hard physical limit of the post-it. Which is a bit of the same sometimes when you board into other software. There's going to be a limit to your camera. So if you want to draw beyond, you're not going to see it. But not in Storyboard Pro. Because if I look, I have an infinite canvas to fill with thumbnails and so many things, right? Well, there's actually a limit, but it's pretty big. I'm pretty sure you can expand it. So if I was going to board a bird flying around, right? Hello, more people showing up. Yay! Right, so I'm just gonna erase that, and I'm gonna show you kind of my process for how I would approach a scene. Of course, if I had a script, I would read the script and then work around it, but I don't. So we're gonna eyeball it like that. So you don't really care about this screen. I would just start to draw like around it. So maybe you can just like do this. So maybe like, and I draw really, really small like that. And this would be like maybe a tree. That could be great. And then my camera would be somewhere around it, maybe. But be careful though when you don't use the camera, when you don't use that view, because it's easy to kind of do your thumbnails. And as you do your thumbnails, you always do them with a rectangle that is like that. So then when you try to put them in the camera, it doesn't really work. Right. With experience, you kind of are almost able to eyeball your HD resolution because you get used to it. Let's see if I can actually say what I mean. Well, that's pretty darn close, okay? Yeah, you know, so like with the years, you kind of get used to it. You know what an HD resolution is. That's I'm impressive myself right now. I'm impressed. But anyway, you must work really small, and then I could like keep doing that. And just by the way, when you storyboard, you don't need to have your background on every thumbnails, right? Because you know that this will be my tree, where my bird is. That's my bird. The beak. So then if my bird, I wanted to maybe have anticipation before it jumps, that's when I can be like, you know, it's standing on a branch. I don't need to redraw the whole background, but I can be like, oh, he's there, and maybe he's going to squish himself to look down. And then jump in the air. And be like, Coco, I'm flying with the branch here. So you don't need to have like the thumbnails are just there to help you think. And then if you feel like it, you can just add details later. But it's supposed to take like 5 seconds to do it, like just to get your ideas out there. Because now if I look at this and I'm like, it's cool, but what if I push it further? And then you can just make another row of things on the side. And that's great because it's possible because of Storyboard Pro's infinite canvas. Like if you're working in another software, sometimes you're like stuck with the little square that you have. But now you can you don't have to worry about this space because it's always there. Okay, but what if I want to have a different perspective? So instead of looking at the bird like that, which is a bit boring, you could have maybe the camera a bit higher. So I would have maybe my tree, and I'll like, don't judge me too much. I'm not that great with perspective. But like the trees, like the camera would be looking down at the tree, and we could have the branch here, and now the bird will be like that. All right, so that's already way more interesting. But what if you took your first thumbnail and you were like, oh, that's really great. I'm going to just leave it there and I'm going to do all the rest. And then you go like that for like 15 more panels and you time them. So you waste like triple the time, right? Well, when you do your thumbnails, you can know exactly what you want to do. And I think that this is way more dramatic. Maybe he has a long beak so we can actually see it. And then this could be, oh, wait, yeah, this could be really cool because if I have the same tree that I can just, you know, copy paste. Like that. Whoop. Well, maybe not. It takes too much space. I'm going to eyeball it again because, you know, that's what drawing for years does to you. And it's almost right. We can say that when he looks down, he does look down. But after that, when he jumps, how about the camera move back? So I can maybe make my square a bit further away because infinite canvas, right? And then to make that even more amazing, maybe the camera can look back. So when he jumps in the air, ready to fly. Oof, that's not my best drawing. Yeah. Like that. We could have this kind of, and the camera could zoom out. So how do you indicate that a camera is zooming out? You can just take another color. Okay, it's been years since I done actual real storyboard in the TV, so I forgot which order it is. But I think it goes from black to red, from black to blue to red. So don't quote me on this, but I'm gonna use a blue color and be like, you know, my camera is going to extend out. And then you can just indicate that it's going to zoom out. And now I'm having serious doubt about the blue color, but I don't remember what it is. I'm an animator by trade, okay? I am not a full-time storyboard artist. I did board once for a series, but it's been a while. So you can plan your things like that, and you waste less time not having to fiddle with all the things, right? All right, so let me just take a peek at the little chat here. All right. No question. That's great. That's great. But if you have any questions, please reach out. Okay, and let's try one last angle just to know what we can do with it. And then I'm gonna show you how to use the guides to make it easier to work. I'm gonna make, because we have the straight on approach, we have the top down, but what if to make it different, we try the camera down instead. Ooh, this is not HD. This is more HD. All right, so instead, that's a harder one. So the tree is going to be smaller on top, and then it's going to go down like that. And to give more the impression of perspective, what you can do is add kind of rings around your tree. And the closer they are to you, the wider they are. And then when they kind of go away, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. The actual rule when you do like perspective classes is that you do a line here and then you have to cross the middle, and you know, and then you have the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. But that actually looks cool. But if you're just thumbnailing it, you can just eyeball it, and just remember that if it's closer to you, it's wide, and when it goes away, it's like smaller. So it helps, like just that really give the impression that the trees going down. Anyway, so with the opposite, if this is down and it's closer to us, then you can like do your little stripes, and as they go away, they get more tight. So you know that it's getting away, and the branch would be like here because it's very high, and then the bird could be like, hey guys, I'm looking at you. So that maybe if he jumps down, you can make him maybe move. Oops, I want to get a blue color. Maybe he's gonna jump off screen, which could be great, but then he's gonna like fall down and roll around the tree and stuff. So that's, oops, that is one thing that could happen. So the thumbnail is great to keep your ideas open, because I would have never thought about that if I was worrying about my camera movements, my screen and stuff, and the timing like that. Don't think about the timing for now, just focus on the thumbnails. But you know, time is running, so let's say that I do love one of those, and I will actually let you choose. So would it be 1, 2, or 3? Are we taking this angle, or this angle? You have exactly 5 seconds to decide while I get my other windows ready. Okay, so 1, 2, or 3, which angle do you want? You can vote in the comment section. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna go get my little tools ready. I want my brush. I want to get my homemade little brush. Stroke view. Where are my brushes? Oh, I lost my brush. I'm gonna make a new one. It's fine. The context of the shot is a bird jumping off a tree and flying away. I think. I'm gonna go get my guides. All right, so we have 2 votes for 3. You have 5 last seconds to choose. I think it's gonna be tree. All right, it's gonna be tree. So, oh yeah. We're definitely taking 3. Because if you remove the H, it's tree. And when you connect all the dots, it becomes a tree. And that's what we're gonna animate. So, tree it is. 3 it is. Sorry, I'm French. So now if you wanted to do this, and by the way, I am not a layout artist. I am not great at background, but I can draw trees. That's something I can draw. And usually when you sketch it, you can just like eyeball it and just have the tree here. But if you want to make it really cool, you can use the perspective tools. Because that's something that is really important into a storyboard, is to set up your perspective. So depending on if you put your line of horizon here, and let's say you have like all your things converging here. So you have way more space to show the land, and like maybe that could be great. Like you can put the line of horizon high if you're doing like maybe you're showing like something from a distance, and be like a river going in the distance with like buildings or whatnot. And if you want to show more of the land, but maybe you want to show a bad guy appearing in the sky, so you could put your line of horizon way more low so that you see less of the land. It's more scratched down. Oh, that doesn't even look like it, but and then with the house and stuff. And then if you want to show that aliens are coming, you can like have more room in the sky, and then it makes the alien even more scary because they're aliens and they're gonna attack this thing, or maybe they just want to steal our cows. Who knows? It just really depends on what you want to show, because if you want to show that wait, I'm gonna make these a bit lighter. Yeah, okay, because if you, how about you, little line? Thank you. Because if you want to show the city, like the city getting like attacked and there's an alien stealing the cows in the sky, that's one thing. But if you want to show what's doing it, you're better to put your perspective lying down and to show big UFO that looks like a hat, right? So, like, I know the principle of perspective. I'm just not good at applying them, so I won't. But yeah, so let's go back to our story, which was not much. It's a tree falling. It's a bird falling down a tree. So what I sometimes like is to go get my thumbnail, this thing, copy it, and then go and place it in my panel here. But I'm a kind of disorganized person sometimes when I work. I'm trying to work on that. So I can see right away that my panel view here is getting a bit convoluted. I have the cow getting taken in the sky by aliens. I have the bad example I've shown, and I have this. So it's important to kind of keep your workspace clean. So time to talk to you about scenes and panels and stuff. So in Storyboard Pro, instead of having frames, well, you still have frames, but it's not like in Harmony where you draw on frames, right? So you have your panels. They're like little panels of a comic, right? So if you have a comic book with different panels, and oh my god, a triangle here. Because comics can do triangles. You can do triangles in animation. So that's why it's so different. And I cannot do comics, but you know, so you have to consider a panel of a storyboard like a panel you have in a comic book, but you cannot have triangles unless you have a split screen like a triangle, like one of these very cool spaceship 80s anime things. That was pretty cool. Right. So it's important to separate your scenes, right? So I'm gonna leave all the stuff I did before as their own scene, and I'm gonna take my new panel. I'm gonna right click on it. Right click, please, and go to new scene from selected panel. Whoa, and now I have two colors. So there's scene A and scene 1 and scene A B or something. Mine are pink and blue, but by default, I think they're just two different shades of. Wait, is it blue or gray? I don't remember. But you can change it in the preferences. I always change it so that it's clear. You can just go into the colors and yeah, scene group box color 1 or scene group box color 2. I think this is their usual color, but I changed it to very flat, very flashy colors so that I knew what I'm doing. And yeah, so then I'm gonna take this new scene. I'm gonna usually rename that layer as thumbnail because it is really important to name your layers well in Storyboard Pro, because lots of features, instead of working by because you only have one timeline, you only have one layer for your whole storyboard. But inside your storyboard, you have multiple smaller layers, like this one. And Jurassic Pork, that's funny. I do have a good storyboarding exercise I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. That's a very nice question. And not to forget it, I'm going to write it here. But yeah, so the layers are all within your panel. So it's not like Harmony where you have like 1,000 layers for all your animation and stuff, right? So the way we work to affect maybe multiple panels in Storyboard Pro is that we're going to go by name. So that's something I'm going to show you maybe later, or we also have documentation on it and stuff. Because, oh my God, there's only 30 minutes left. But it's fine. We already made progress, so that's great. So what I do usually is I have my thumbnail. I'm gonna put it down here. I'm gonna take that thumbnail and I'm gonna make it bigger. So to make it bigger, you can just select it with your select tool and then press shift to make it bigger, or not, because I don't like to do it like that because it goes weird places. Instead, what you can do is just press alt and shift and it's gonna scale it from the center. Ooh, so much better. Like that, and then I try to find a nice composition for it. And of course, I'll say it again, this is not enough thumbnails. You're supposed to do more, but we are running out of time, okay? So let's go with this. But usually you could take this one and then try maybe different composition with that thing as well. So keep thumbnailing, it's really important. But now we're running out of time, so yeah. By the way, one thing I forgot to say about thumbnails is that they are super important, not only for you, but they are mandatory when you work in a team, because you can spend time editing your thumbnails and showing them to people, and then people can be like, ugh, I'm not a fan of the composition, so then you have to redo everything. By doing thumbnails, this is a great tool to communicate with your team, because of course, if I give that to I like to take my parents, for example, because they don't understand anything of what I do, right? I just show them a drawing. They're like, what is this? Actually, I think I'm going to screen cap this and just send it to them so that they tell me what it is, because they'll never guess. And it's normal. Like, nobody can know whether this is a bird on a branch on a tree. So when you have thumbnails like that, the reason why they can be that bad is because you're supposed to be able to explain what you're doing with them. So I could be like, hey, team, you remember the bird we were animating? Well, this bird is going to be on the tree and the camera is up in the sky, and then we can watch it squash and then fly off into the distance. And then my team's going to be like, yeah, what if he gets taken by an eagle and eaten? And then I can be like, what? And then one of my teammates could take a different color and go there and be like, yeah, like maybe that could be great. But we could have, we could have the bird and the branch, but then there's an eagle that come and snag it with his paws, and then the eagle flies away with it. And then I'm like, what? No, don't do that to the bird. And then I could be like, no, and propose something else. Thumbnails are like brain juice. You have to do them. And yeah. And honestly, if you want to know if something is clear, show it to your show it to people who don't know anything about your project. Like I'm storyboarding on a fun project with friends at the moment, and I showed them a few things I boarded. And I wasn't sure that it was clear until they told me it was clear. They're like, oh yeah, we know what's going on. Now it's so much clearer. So, people who are not into the animation industry are sometimes a very good public to try your ideas to. Keep that in mind to meditate, right? It's but yeah, if mom and dad, you're watching this, I love you. But you probably aren't because I forgot to tell you I was streaming today. All right, so thumbnail here. I have my thumbnail. So then I can make another layer that I could call rough. Of course, when you work professionally, you don't always have time to name your layers. So people just assume things are things. Because when you create your layers, they're named with letters. So as long as you keep everything at your next panels, everything is on the same letter. So if the bird is always on the A letter, you'll be fine. It's just that it's important to keep the same all the time, all right? So let's say that I want to take this and have a rough background drawn on it, a rough like layout. I can take my layer, click on the light bulb that is right here, and then it's going to make everything else not show up as opaque. It's the same thing as harmony. The only difference is that you don't have the top light button to change the opacity, but no biggie. You can just go into your preferences and into the camera, I think. Yeah, light table opacity here. You can just change it to something else. So you can put it to like 20% if you want. And it's going to make it paler or something. All right, so now if I want to do cool backgrounds, which I'm not gonna do because we only have 30 minutes left, but I'm gonna do the basics. So you can go to guides, and you can press plus, and then you have to choose within these little perspective examples. And if you've been doing this for years and you're like, I don't need a guide to draw my own perspective, I'll have you know that one of the person who helped out with this feature is my background teacher from schools, and he's in love with this. He's like, wow, I wish I had that when I was all your age, because it would have made my life so much easier. Because it doesn't magically turn you into the best background artist ever, but it does help, like at least visualizing what's going on with this, right? So you still have to know what you're doing a little bit, but yeah, it's just going to help you draw your perspective more solid, right? So you can press here. There's many choices. So one of them is bird's eye view. So it's the camera from bird's eye view would be what we have here when the camera is looking down on the character. So that's why it's bird's eye view, because it's up in the air. Yeah, Robo, they're perspective tools. How you think I can pretend to draw backgrounds well? And then if you're looking from the tree down up, you're like a worm. You're on the ground. So that would be worm's eye view. So since we're looking up at the tree from the ground, we are a worm. So I'm going to take worm's eye view, which means that things will get small. Oh, you have to activate it, all right? Things will get smaller as they go away. Like that. And then you can like, oh my God. You can't, no, I grabbed my point. That's not what I wanted to do. You have to, oh no, you have to lock your guides in place. Otherwise you're going to move them. But it's okay. We have a tool to lock them. So you press that, and then you can just start drawing your lines, and they will always be aligned with your perspective guides. All right, so let me just place them. And to place them, usually I like to show the grid, which is this button here. It's like a grid and an eye. You cannot miss it. And then you can choose how many lines you have. So if you want it to be super convoluted, you can. I don't like it. So I'd rather have less little points. And then it's just a matter of placing your perspective points somewhere out there. Depending on where the ground is. So if the ground is really low, then maybe your point is going to be super far away and stuff. So I don't really know. Okay, so let's say that this is my perspective guides. Actually, I think my point here is too near. What am I doing? Okay, let's say like that. Okay. And by the way, when you do crazy big pans, it's also, wait, I'm going to show you with a pan. It's also important because sometimes when you have a very high pan like that, so 4-point perspective vertical pan, this is how you'll get your your perspective warping a little bit. So you can kind of move stuff like that. And, I keep pressing on the wrong thing like this. And then you can like move your points around. And this is how you would get these really cool these really cool curvy backgrounds that you could get. Right. So there's many things to play with these guys. Okay. Right. So time is running out. Okay. So let's say that I drew this with amazing perspective guides. Like that. I can then do this, and then it's time to maybe refine your thumbnails a little bit. Not too much, because they're still storyboard. They're not final animation. But you just want to maybe layer out better what your perspective is. Maybe there's going to be other branches in your tree or something. Or like, I like to draw little mushrooms on the trees because it gives them like nice, it's a nice way to show the curve in your trees. And like if I was looking down, I would see the top of the mushroom, but I'm not. I'm always looking up on my tree. So I can maybe have it follow beautiful curve of my tree and then have them like poke out and do something like that. So, and little mushrooms, they're great. Okay, I'm an animator, not a background artist. Stop judging my skills. I know you're all judging my skills in the comment section. I can read it. Hi, Provo Creative. Like that. And then you have your character. So my background, I drew it on the background layer. And now on layer A, that's where I'll draw my bird. But now when I switch around, I see that my background is a bit too pale because it's like my thumbnail. So I'm going to go to my thumbnail, and you can lower the opacity by clicking here. Woo! So then when I go here, I see my thumbnails a bit less, and I see my background still washed out a little bit. By the way, I didn't show it, but it's always important to have your grid showing in perspective, just to show where you are in life. Oh no, I drew it on my background. Yeah, it's a good idea to always have, once you set up your perspective guides, like it's always a nice idea to have your grid showing you where you are in space. And this is where you see my lack of proficiency with that area of life. But I'm trying, okay? I'm trying to get better at locating my things in space. That's why it takes lots of courage to stream, okay? Because you always do weird stuff like that, okay? Just to show where you are in space. It's important, okay? And then this is my background. Maybe layer A will be my bird, all right? I'm just going to get rid of all these layers that I don't need. So, oh no, layer A, you're gone. Okay, layer A will be my bird. And for the bird, I'm going to use a different color. Ooh, that's a big stroke. So today, just for those wondering, I'm using, what brush am I using? Pastel 2, which comes with the software. So if you want to do the same thing that I'm doing, you can, because it's in the software. Right there. So then you would maybe try to draw the bird. And instead of being just a circle this time, you can try to make it a bit more defined. Not too much, just a little bit. So let's say that this was my bird. It would be like little bean bird. The tail. Should we give it big eyes? I think so. Yes. So that's the little bird. I think the eyes could be bigger. Yes. And yeah, and because pink is the best color to go with blue. Let's give him some little pink designs like that. That's cute. Okay, so that's my bird. It's so scary from far away. You see, that's why you don't zoom. I was zooming because it's easier to see on stream. But, you know, sometimes when you zoom and you zoom out, you're like, oof, that's weird. But it's fine. Then if I were to make new layers, new panels, I mean, for my storyboard, you can just press here on the Smart Add Panel. Because if you press on P, which is the shortcut to create a new panel, it's all empty and it starts with the default layering you have. So instead, you can click on Smart Add Panel, which is this thing. And then this window will open. And depending on which one you select, so if I select F, BG, and Thumbnail, these will carry over to the next panel. And they're going to carry the artwork over as well. And A will have just an empty layer. So you can just draw the next thing of your bird. But before doing that, since we have a background, what you need to do as well is click here on your background layer, and you can use the share drawing feature, which is amazing. It does a little, you have a shared folder here in your library of your project, and then you have the BG here, which means that it's going to be the same image on all your little panels. I'm also going to do the same with my grid, but not my thumbnails. I don't really care, because I'm going to delete it after anyway. And then I'm going to go Smart Add Panel, do the same thing. This is important. Add default layer is missing. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. And there you see my layers as stars. So if I change it and I add a big branch here to my tree, it's going to add it on my other panel as well. Oh, amazing. And yeah, so if we were doing a different panel, then I'd have maybe, I'd have my bird here flying off to the distance. And some people like to use the onion skin. I am not the biggest fan of the onion skin. I always tend to flip my stuff instead. Oh, that's because I'm an animator more than a board artist. Maybe board artists prefer to use the onion skin. I don't know. You tell me. If there's a board artist in the crowd, hi, please help me. But then if I were that, sometimes, because I'm an animator before board artist, sometimes I also do like the little anticipation just to show that it's going to jump. And then I'm going to have maybe another panel, Smart Add Panel, press OK. And then he's going to be there already. Little bean buddy. Yay! Like that. But even then, I try to keep it very short. And usually I would have thumbnailed the whole thing, but I didn't because time constraints. And then you can kind of use maybe another panel to draw another bird doing something else. So he's flying off. But what if I think that this is boring? Okay, I can just get rid of my panels. And instead of doing that, maybe I want him to jump out of the screen. I can make a little arrow showing that he goes out. And then on the next panel, he's going to go here. Like he's going to fall down and be like, cannonball. And then maybe he's going to keep going down, which would allow us to have a very cool camera move where we go to the ground. So to do that, I will just remove my camera frame to start and board the bird going away. He's going to enter sonic speed. Super sonic speed, I mean. And then maybe he's going to... Oops. Maybe he's going to... You know, do the little thing when people go, ooh, and then they fly off into the distance. Maybe he's going to do that, and then it's going to be glorious. What am I doing? That's kind of cool. But now if I turn my camera mask back on, oh no, the bird is gone. So we don't know what's going on with the bird except the feather. That's the only clue we have to understand what's going on. So in other softwares, you would need to wait, no, that's not true. For the shortcuts, in Storyboard Pro, it's different. In Harmony, it's F and G to switch from one panel to the other. But I forgot to say it in Storyboard Pro, it's A and F. So to go back, it's A. And to go forward, it's F. Just so you know. But the command dot is true. You can use them to move one frame to the other. All right, and I know I have maybe too many poses, but that's because I'm a silly animator, as they say, into the board world. Because that happens often. Storyboard animation artists will jump to storyboard, and the first gig they have is always a bit brutal because you learn not to animate; you have to board, which are two different jobs. I'd like to have the bird just coming out of my screen and be like, "Oh, cool, cool." That could be cool. All right. So just before we are done, what I was trying to say is that you should have your camera moving, a bit like I've shown you here with the thumbnail. Ah, where's the thumbnail? The camera can move like we've seen here. So that's what we're gonna do, but we're actually gonna use a camera, which is something you usually do way at the end, but you can do that. And if you were actually boarding, because usually you board and somebody edits your boards, you would draw it. Like you would draw in your thumbnail, in your BG, maybe you would draw, not your BG, on a different panel. You would be like, this is my first position. And then my last position would be this. And then you would draw these fancy little arrows that may move, that show that your the screen is moving. So then if I was the person editing your boards, I'd be like, okay, they plan the camera move here. Okay, I'm gonna get my camera. And this is something they would do into edits, okay? So this is not board. It's really more edit to move the camera. But I'm gonna show you still because it's a stream. We're just learning a bunch of things. So in my timeline where I have my drawing, eventually I would have maybe my camera here. So I'm gonna put a keyframe for my camera. I'm gonna go here, press plus to add another keyframe, and then move my camera here. And maybe make it bigger. All right? So then it would do something like this. And if I want it to be a bit more circular shape, I can go to the curve mode and play with your camera to have it be more or less curvy and stuff. Or you can also just go into the middle and manually add another keyframe and just change it like that. So you see now it's gonna curve just like I drew it. Amazing. Yeah, that's almost perfect. So then you would have your beautiful camera move. Let's watch that, shall we? Let's see. Oh no, not this part. It's gonna go super fast because I didn't really time it, but oh no crap. Snap camera to panels, not to scene. There we go. Okay, so the bird is there, minding his own business, and then it's gonna fly off. Whoa, so cool. Flying off to space. Wow. I am so proud of what we accomplished together today. So, since somebody asked for an exercise about Storyboard Pro, let's give out some homework, okay? So one very good exercise you can give to a board artist is, yes, space. It's actually the first exercise I have ever done in animation school when we learned how to board. It was, and I'm going from memory here. It can be anything, okay? You just like everybody has some toys at home, right? So you just take a bunch of toys. I'm gonna draw them, but usually you just take because what is hard in storyboard is deciding about your camera angle sometimes. And it's called, yeah, in English it's called staging. Like, how do you stage your action, right? So maybe you can take a bunch of toys and have maybe like your pup, because I have a pup figure here, so I can just watch it. So there's like a you take your table. I'm so good at drawing backgrounds, you guys. And then oh my god, this is not where it goes. Ah! And then you take your table, and on the table you can put some little toys. So I'm gonna take my pup figure, maybe put it here. And here I'm gonna place a big carton jug of juice or something. And here there is a I don't know, a little ball. And here you have like something else, like a pencil. So you have this set up. Like usually you take action figures or you take something meaningful, not just random objects like I did. When I did it in school, it was like a telephone booth, a park bench, like that, like a park bench with a bird on it. And there was a dog looking at the bird. I'm doing that with like 10 years of memory, okay? And there was somebody into the telephone booth as well. So our teacher just gave us that setup. And then he told us, you have a page of like, how many was it? I think it was like 30 thumbnails. It was on paper, so we had no choice but to follow the thumbnails. So it was a big, big page like that, full of little squares. He's like, fill that page with like all these different camera shots you could have with that scene. So then if you take these little things, for example, if I take like the telephone booth, you could have a thumbnail. And it's only thumbnail, so it doesn't have to be super clear. But you have, it's just decide where you put your camera, right? So I'm going to take my camera and place it maybe here. So I'm going to take my camera and it's going to look here. So what does your camera see? Your camera is going to see the back head of the dog. And out in the distance, in your perspective, you're going to see the pigeon on the park bench. What if my camera is here? Is going to see, and it's really a hard exercise, okay? I did so bad at that exercise all these years ago. I'm sorry, Luc, my teacher. So you have to see, maybe you're going to see from like, you have your perspective like that with the top of your telephone booth. And then out in the, like your booth is going to be down there. And you have like your perspective on the ground. And the bench is going to be like maybe here. Oh, wait, it's upside down. Anyway, we're running out of time. But maybe the pigeon is going to be here and the dog would be here. So what your camera would see in the end is just... this. You see the top of the telephone booth and the pigeon. And of course, you have to try to make it like, actually the pigeon will be here. You have to make it like meaningful. But you have to choose what would be the greatest way to stage that scene. You're not allowed to move anything. You can just use what is already there to create tension. Because if the dog is staring at the pigeon like that, you can also have the opposite. And I think that's the last drawing I'll have to do for today. You could have the opposite, where like, what if the pigeon is actually a secret agent pigeon with a camera in its head and it's actually staring at this stuff? So this would be your pigeon looking at the dog, and then the dog is smaller because it's looking at the pigeon, and like the pigeon is more important than the dog. But maybe the dog knows what the pigeon is doing, and he knows that the pigeon is a secret agent spying on his master. Yeah, because maybe his master is a spy, but like this is also a spy. And yeah, so many possibilities you can just tell with the camera, because depending on where you put the camera, it's not the same power in the character. Because pigeonception, yeah. Because this is my last tip of the day. The character design is important, but the way you stage a character is also really important. And I remember in some movies you have a character that is maybe not evil, but try to look where the camera is looking at that character. Usually, if a character is not that kind, they're going to try to have the camera looking down, looking up to the character, because then it's going to make him look bigger in the screen than perhaps your hero. If your hero is in a bad situation, sometimes the camera is going to look down on your hero just so that it looks a bit smaller than everything else. So like character design is something, but staging is even as important as character design. So the way you stage your character is as important as its design, because this is a cute little pigeon, but if you frame it like that, it looks kind of mean, even though it's just a pigeon, right? So try that thing. Of course, we had the drawing made by my professor, by my teacher back then, but I cannot share that because I lost it. It was on paper. But the way I found to replicate it with my students when I teach is to just create themselves a meaningful scene with a few like toys or whatever, and try to stage that scene into different thumbnails. All right. So I hope you had fun. I sure had fun. Let's look at what we've created one last time because it's gorgeous. I'm going to turn down my thumbnails. And I will make it play. Yeah. Yeah, so let's make it play like that here. Oops, I'm going to put my camera frame as well. And yeah, so I hope you had fun. I sure had fun. So let's play that one last time. I'm a bird. Time to spread my wing and fly. Yay! This is so slow. This is very slow and wee. Amazing. Good work, everyone. Thank you for bearing with me for an hour. I hope you had fun. And I will see you again next time on this amazing show. Bye-bye.